Can you match these 7 people with those 7 names?
Absolutely not.
And can you tell us where they're from?
Okay, wait, where I'm from?
No, where they're from. Wait, what's your name, by the way?
Hi, my name is Jihad.
Jihad? Like
Yes,
jihad, like the jihad?
yes.
How is it having a name Jihad?
Okay.
Like, how many people comment on that?
Yeah, I get it a lot.
Wait, hang on. Yo,
Yeah, I got a lot of questions. Some people.
can you explain? Yeah, explain what it means.
Okay. So, most people think it's something to do with like a holy war or like conquest, but I see it's more as a struggle between yourself, in your life, against sin and just doing the right thing, even though sometimes it can be a sacrifice.
Doing the right thing, which can be a sacrifice. And does it have anything to do with the magic mushrooms that are on your hat, your cap right there?
Perhaps.
But doing the right thing would be like figuring out the exact dosage to take. Or like Rick and Morty, your whole shirt. Dude, all right, awesome. I know that people have a misunderstanding of jihad, of what it means.
do, yeah.
But really,
They do.
jihad, it's kind of like all religious traditions, all spiritual traditions exist to balance out the struggle between the ego and the spirit, like the ego and God. Like, so human beings, the idea with all the traditions is that somehow we come from the Creator, and we have to rectify the fact that we are separated from the Creator, and we have this autonomous ego, but we are continue to be connected to the Creator.
We strive, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're striving to get back to that. So jihad's a cool name, man. Every day of your life,
Exactly, I'm applying my name.
you're applying your name. Awesome. Well, apply it right now to the struggle of figuring out which person goes with which name.
Okay.
And one's a gimme, bro. If you're gonna get at least one right.
You mean Jonathan?
Yeah, which one's Jonathan,
yeah.
dude? That's pretty easy.
I mean, I don't want to assume anybody's gender, but I'm guessing.
All right. All right, so here you go. How about everybody else? Like, who goes with what name? And first off, is the name,
Yeah.
where do you think they're from?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that they're from the East.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, like the names,
What's the first name? What kind of name? What country is that from?
I don't know how to pronounce it, but
Try to pronounce it.
Napa Sakorn.
Napasakon.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to see who reacted to it.
Did you
I
see
don't
who
know.
reacted to that?
Yeah.
With a cringe?
Yeah, I think it's the girl in the middle.
Yeah?
With the black jacket.
Because of the way she reacted?
Yes, because the way she reacted.
Okay, well, you're right. That is her.
Okay, nice.
All right,
That's
the
one.
next one.
Yeah, I'm already
What country
satisfied.
is that name from?
Okay, so Hua. I'm gonna assume it's the girl with the with the black hat.
All right.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
No, you didn't get it right. That's
Okay.
not her.
Yeah, wait.
How
So-
about the next name?
Chuang. I'm gonna assume.
Dude, that was pretty good, actually.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so I'm just blind guessing at this point. I'm gonna guess the last girl at the very end.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's just keep going. Candace. Okay, Candace.
So now with Candace.
Yeah, Candace.
Wait. No, you didn't change that name.
Yeah,
You were supposed to change it. That's not her name.
well,
Go ahead. We're going
depends
to go
how
with
she wants
Candace
to.
anyway. Cadence. It's Cadence.
It's Cadence.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Cadence. Maybe you. I hate pointing at you.
Dude, that's all right. You can point. All right, that's pretty impressive.
Okay,
It's not
thank you.
her, but that's all right.
I don't know. Okay, so Yeji. I think it's the girl with the black hoodie.
Where's Yeji from?
Okay,
What
I'm
kind of
gonna.
name is that?
Okay, I have no idea. I'm just gonna guess blindly. From maybe Korea.
Dude,
Am I on point?
spirit, the spirit
Yeah,
is rocking with
it's
you.
the
You are
jihad,
in
the
the
jihad.
middle of a jihad. You are winning the jihad right now.
Internally, yes. So,
All right.
Jonathan, we said to him, nice to meet you.
And how do you pronounce that last name?
I think it's going to be Chen Shi.
Chen Chi.
Chen Shi.
All right.
And it's the girl in the black hat, I think.
In the black hat?
Yeah.
You're very close. Why do you think it's her?
Because she smiled.
Oh, yeah? All right. She's actually just laughing at how you pronounce the name. All right. No. Kate, no, you're good. So why don't we just go down this row and introduce ourselves? Yeah. What's your background? Because you're going to be up here the whole time.
My name's Jonathan. I'm a senior marketing student. I'm from Philly.
Yeah, and your ancestry.
Oh, my parents are from China.
And what's your connection? And do you speak Mandarin? Do you speak?
I speak Mandarin.
Uh-huh. How do you consider, what do you call yourself? The thing is here, the six of you have to introduce yourselves a little more than you normally would, because we're going to be talking about your ancestry and your background. You connected to China, you speak Mandarin.
I guess I'm a first-generation immigrant child.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you fluent in Mandarin?
I would say I'm pretty conversationally fluent.
How do you say jihad in Mandarin? How do you say the struggle? The struggle. It's a tough one.
Not sure.
How do you say this class is awesome in Mandarin?
这课很棒.
All right. Dude, you got it. All right, I got it. Okay, go ahead. So you're connected to your culture, but you are very Americanized, and yet you're connected. Is what I'm hearing.
I would say I'm pretty connected.
Mhm.
I speak Mandarin to my family. They don't really speak English, so I have to.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have a choice.
All right. Okay. Awesome, man. All right.
My name's Cadence. I'm a first-year comp sci student, and I'm half Vietnamese, half Chinese. So my dad's Chinese and my mom's Vietnamese, but actually growing up, my dad lived in Vietnam, and then they both immigrated to the US. So in my household, I really only know Vietnamese. I'm not very good at speaking it, but I understand very well. And I'm also a first-gen student. So.
And you're really connected to Vietnamese culture.
Yeah.
And Chinese culture, or less so? At all?
Less so because it's only my dad's side.
Got
and
you.
even on my dad's side, he's the youngest son. And then I have a bunch of aunts, and they all know Vietnamese too. So
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
My name's Amanda Lee. I'm from Delaware County, so outside of Philly. I'm a junior finance major. My parents came to the U.S. from Asia when they were 5, so they're pretty Americanized too. So they all speak Chinese, well, Mandarin, but I don't speak or understand any Mandarin.
So how connected are you to Chinese culture through them?
I think we do traditions like Chinese New Year and like we eat Chinese food and we'll pray when someone passes away, but in terms of speaking or
Mhm.
our religion we don't really practice Buddhism or anything like that. So I feel like my grandparents were kind of the last generation that was pretty traditional.
Mm-hmm, got it. Okay, cool. And I used your one Chinese name for you instead of Amanda. Hua. How do you pronounce that?
Hua.
Hua. You did a nice job with that, by the way. I was impressed. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. You want to hear my whole name first or my nickname first?
Do your whole name. Listen to this.
My whole name is Napasakon Dulayatitikun. Yeah, it's a long
Say that
name.
again.
But my nickname go by News and EWS. It also have a meaning. I will tell you later. But I'm a 5th-year forensic science major. I originally from Thailand, but my home is kind of in Maryland. I moved here to Penn State just to study. And I usually speak Thai with my family a lot and my friends in Thailand in Discord. I don't usually speak like other language, but I know some of the Spanish though.
Yeah, the other mic. Okay, okay, awesome. Hey, say your last name again.
Dulayathithikul.
Dude, I love
I mean,
Thai
like,
names. man.
You can bet like nobody can pronounce it correctly. It's
Yeah.
only like my first name, and then like for my last name, they're just like how
How did he do with your first name?
good.
Yeah? Wait, pronounce it
Because, like,
again.
Napasakon.
Napasakon.
Yeah, because the K in Thailand is sound like go.
Ga, Napasakon.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hi, my name is Yeji. I'm a junior majoring in psychology. I'm from Korea. Both of my parents are Korean. I speak Korean and English.
Uh-huh. Awesome. How do you do with your name?
Yeji.
Yeji.
Yes.
I don't remember. He did pretty well with your
Oh, yeah,
name,
he did well.
actually. And he chose you. He knew who you were. He knew you were Korean. Bro, how'd you know she was Korean? How'd you know that was a Korean name? You just got lucky? All right. Dude. All right. Okay. All right. Yeji. All right. You're good.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Chen Xi, and I'm a senior student majoring in supply chain management.
Okay, wait. What's your name again?
Chen Xi.
Hang on. Hold the mic really close and say
Chen Xi.
Chen Si.
No, it's Xi.
Si. Bro,
Xi.
come here. You're gonna get this down. Come over here. You're gonna get this down. Listen really carefully.
Okay.
Okay, say it again.
So it's Chen Xi.
Si.
Xi. You need to like this. Xi.
Chen Xi.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, he got it? All right. Awesome. Man, you're the best, bro. You are winning the jihad. All right. Okay. So from China. Yep.
Hi, my name is Chu Hao, and I'm also from China. I'm a senior sociology major, and I think my ancestor and my parents are both Chinese.
So Chu Hang.
Liu Chu Hang.
Yeah. Chu Hang. Okay, awesome. Bro, you rock. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Enjoy. All right, so we're going to have a conversation about. By the way, do all like you have do you have an American name?
I never had.
You never had one? Have you wanted one?
I don't.
You don't want one? An English name?
I don't want one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Do you have an English name?
Yeah, I just use my first letter of my name, just CC, double C. It's pretty easy.
Oh, CC.
Yeah, double C.
Can you explain to the class like the whole taking an English name? That so many Koreans and Chinese.
So you mean why I chose this?
You know,
name?
why do people do it? First off.
It's easy to pronounce if I have an English. Oh, it's easy to pronounce if I have an English name
Mm.
because it's difficult to pronounce Chen Xi in every class.
Yeah, like
For all the professors.
like everybody butchers it, like I did.
Yeah.
Although Jihad did pretty well. So wait, and you have an English name?
No, I go by my Korean name.
You go by your. Do you like? Have you ever wanted it and like an English name?
No.
But most people do, right? Like, or many of your friends. And why in Korea do what the same? It's what she said, or what else is behind that? Yeah, no. Why do people do that? Why do so many people? Even in Korea, it's not just international students coming here. People have. I mean, I meet almost everyone I meet in Korea will give me say their Korean name, and then will say their English name, and just call it that. What's behind, like, can you just say a little bit about what goes on there, or how people do it, or when they do it, or how they do it? Like, think about your friends and stuff. Or like their decision, they did it, like people who do it, but you didn't do it. Why do people, what is behind them taking on an English name?
So some of my friends who has like English name, I asked them like, oh, where'd you get the name? And they just say like, oh, I got it from my kindergarten. And then like my English teacher named it for me like that.
Just someone gave it to,
Yeah,
not
someone gave it to the.
uh-huh. It seems to me, what I hear from people is kind of cool if someone else gives you the name. Like, you can give it to yourself, but if someone else gives you the name, it's also cool. And you didn't do it. You just like your name.
Because like my name is really common in my home country. Yeji
Yeah.
is really common name in South
Yep.
Korea. And I always wanted unique name when I was little, like since I was little. And then here, some Koreans have name Yeji, but not like, I think I'm the only Yeji here. That's why I use my Korean name.
Yeah, so for a long time, I had the idea, like in class, so let me just say this, that when people would offer their, like Koreans and Chinese in particular, sometimes Japanese, but mostly, do Thais do this? Do you give yourselves English names?
Actually, Thailand is traditional that we have a nickname since we birth.
You have a
So,
nickname.
Yeah, the real name is just like to indicate like who is who, and the nickname is just for calling.
And what's your nickname?
News, N-E-W-S.
What is it?
N-E-W-S.
N-E-W-S?
Yeah, news.
News.
It sounds
Like
weird, but
news.
yeah.
News.
Most of the Thai people usually just N-E-W, but my name is like just an S,
Yeah.
just to make it special.
Okay, no, that's cool. Okay, Niu, but you add the S on. Did you add the S on, or did somebody else?
No, because like my parents was traveling a lot, so it's like north, east, south, west. It's from the compass. They just put it in
yeah,
together.
northeast, southwest.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
It's cool, right?
Oh, that's cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so I had the idea early on, is like, wait, why do people, like, you should use your name. You know, so many people, like Chinese and Korean students, would go by their American name, and I always felt, as this American, like, no, man, we should pronounce your name. But then over time, I realized, but it's kind of a pain. It's like what you said. It's like, yeah, but people butcher my name, and so it's just easier. I give myself a name. And then as I talk to a lot of Koreans who say, no, it's actually really cool. I get to have this American or this English name that I get to use. It's like an extra name, and I can use it myself or get it from somebody else. But what I've heard from a lot of people is it's also really cool if someone else gives you the name, like someone who you really respect or like or something like that. Wait, and you don't have? Yeah, but Chuhang is, and how come you don't have one? Just because you just never wanted one, or?
Because I find it very difficult to find a one that suits my personality. I don't think the American name is my name.
Yeah.
I prefer to go by myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. No, and also a lot of Americans who I meet who live in China or Korea also have a Korean name or a Chinese name, right? Like they'll do that. So people, it's this thing back and forth. But it's always really fascinating to see the names and how they get them. Okay, so listen. So we're going to have a conversation about some things that I experience in the East. And can we go to the next slide? All right, so if you can either look at this one or that one, it doesn't really matter. But I want to have a conversation about this. And it's really good that the three of you are much more Americanized, you in particular, right? But all of you, so this is really good. So you have a way of having this experience. You're in the middle here because you're Thai, so I want to kind of, because this is an East Asian thing that I'm looking at, but I also see it among Thais as well in a really interesting way. And then the three of you, two of you from China and one from Korea. And I want to talk about this thing, comportment, This is a word that we don't use. We don't use, by the way, this is like going to be a really interesting conversation. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I think you're like a really good group here are going to be able to pull this. We're going to pull it off together. So comportment is like your stature in the world, your way of being in the world, like who you, like how you hold yourself in relation to people around you, and just how you hold yourself in the world. Okay, comportment. It's not just your personality. It's not about your personality. It's about the comportment. It goes beyond that. Okay, so it's how you just really are. Your beingness, B-E-I-N-G-ness. Okay, and what we see we see these differences in East Asian personalities and Western personalities, in particular in the United States, or comportments. Okay, that in East Asia, so all of you, and I'm just going to throw you into this because again, Thai culture is very similar. There's this kind of much more of an emphasis on community and a greater awareness of what's going on around us. So like comportment, like the way I hold myself in the world, if I'm just trying to, as I situate myself in any situation, I'm very aware of how people around me are and what they are and who they are. And I'm very aware of how I interact in relation to them. It's a notable thing. And it's subtle. It's not like you don't even necessarily see it until you feel it and experience it. And in the West, and especially in the US, we have a much more of an individualist orientation that I don't walk into any situation and immediately start feeling the energy of people around me. In Korea, there's this word nunchi, right? That's really, you have high levels of nunchi or low levels of nunchi, but that's like your like social awareness or your social intellect. So in the East, because community is really important, okay, the value of how I stand, like as I'm here, like the energy of you all is really important. Like it's really, you feel that. So like because I want to be part of the community, or I naturally am part of the community, the idea is to kind of de-emphasize myself. And which means you're going to be a little bit more reserved in a way. And in the East, it's going to be a little bit different. Okay? Or in the West, I mean, where it's just like, it's be unique. So here. So let me start with you all, right? First off, no, I'm going to start with the three of you, then I'm going to go to you. So how do you notice this? And when you are around Americans here, or just people who are not either Chinese or Korean, how do you know? What do you notice about this way of kind of who you are and who they are? What do you see? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think like Chinese classroom is quite different from American classroom because like in China's like university, maybe like the rules and the structure are stressed more than anything else, so you don't like behave like out of your a certain kind of behaviors like in the classroom. You have to like sit and in a certain way that the teachers want you to do that. But like in American classroom, I think you can basically do many things that do many things that you want. So you can like go out to go to the bathroom, and you can like even sometimes like eat something secretly. But that's not possible in China.
Even like raise your hand and ask a question.
Yeah, you have to raise your hand in China before you answer the question. But like in like American classroom, you just shout out the answer, and it's not a big deal. So
it's really following. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, what do you, not just even in the classroom, just about people, just, what do you see?
So I'm kind of feeling like more freedom in the U.S.
And here?
People and actually everything. It's kind of like freedom.
Yeah, what do you mean freedom? Because when you say freedom here to Americans, this is good, right? They start thinking about that you're talking about political freedom and freedom from the government and freedom from all the cameras that are watching you in China. But I don't think you're talking about that. You're talking about something else. What do you mean what ways do you experience greater freedom?
So the biggest difference, I think, is the freedom between, for example, maybe students and teachers.
Uh-huh.
For example, you and me, we can, I think our conversation is more freedom than I did with my teachers in China.
Uh-huh. Like
Yeah.
we can have like kind of
more
a back and
freedom
forth.
I can say whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yiji, what do you notice here? Like, look, I'm thinking about this. So 2 days ago, I'm in Seoul, right? And I'm just like, there's just a way in which people in Seoul are just, it's just not like here. It's, how are they not like here? How is it just different? Try to describe that if you can. Like, what do you see here that you don't see there?
Like how we dress up and then
How you
we-
act. Think about comportment, like actions, just like the way of carrying oneself. Like Koreans are like, think about being reserved, right? And think about Americans like being just out, loud, who they are. Do you see that? Do you experience that? What do you see?
like how each people express themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when I say something, when I say something, I think like I wanted to make sure that I'm saying the right thing, like
Okay.
before I say something.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm
No, you're on. Like, what do you mean saying the right thing? Like, you're looking around.
because I care about how others think about me.
How other people think about you. So like when I'm taught, like if I'm in class, right? So here, let me just ask you, if I'm a student in this class and the instructor asks me a question, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to put it out there, right? I'm not going to look around and think like, what are these people? What are they going to think about me the way I talk, the way I say anything? I'm just going to put it out there. And you're saying, you're thinking about what? What are you thinking about? Because I'm not thinking about what anyone else thinks. I don't care what anyone else thinks.
Because I don't want to be judged by, like, how should I say? I see some people who's sitting like who sits like this in a classroom, but I never, and like none of my friends sit like this in my own country, because I don't want the professor to think about me that I'm like rude or.
Because if you do that, I'm gonna, if I'm like right now, so if you and I look, you were shaking your head, right? Like if we look out there and we see some people sitting like that, we're gonna notice them and they're gonna stand out like this, like right there. Like he's gonna stand out, and like you don't want to stand out. Why don't you want to stand out? Like what's wrong with standing out? Because we learn to be unique and stand out. Like what's wrong with that? Or not what's wrong? Like why don't you want to stand out? Do you have a thought on that?
So I don't want to stand out in class because I don't want to answer some question from professor.
You don't want to be brought up and sit in the front. But it's not just in class. It's like stand out anywhere. You're talking about standing out anywhere.
Well, I think I'm kind of be like more introvert person in the U.S. after I come here and study abroad, because The first thing might because of like language barrier.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, for example, if you speak too fast, I cannot understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes, so
But here's the thing. I want to, and maybe you can weigh in on this a little bit, right? And then I'm going to I want to see what the three of you see. Why is it that when we think, if I bring like 3 women, 2 from China, 1 from Korea up, everybody in the room assumes that you're going to be reserved and quiet. It doesn't matter who I could bring up 100 people from China, and here, hang on, can I borrow a chair? And everyone, let's say everyone, 100 people, we're going to assume that you're just quiet. It's like, you're going to assume that. And it's going to be true for 99 of you, that you're going to be quiet. And if I bring like a bunch of 100 Americans up, there's going to be a bunch of personalities that are just like really out there. And when I go to Seoul and I'm watching someone and I'm seeing them just take up a lot of space, I'm like, oh, that's an American. But I don't see that. And so I'm just wondering, like, what is that about standing out? Just wondering about that.
Like we're in class, it's not time to like stand out.
I'm not talking
we're-
about just in class. I go to the subway. You go to subways, it's like deathly, it's quiet. It's so quiet. It's like everything is just, it's like everyone's looking around to see who, okay, hang on, I'm just going to be in this comportment that I have. You don't even see it. Okay, so let me ask you, and then how do you guys see that? Like, how are you compared to your parents or your grandparents? How do you see that? Where do you see that?
I was gonna say, like, maybe when I'm with my family, like, I'm not as like outgoing. Like, I don't make as many jokes or I don't talk as much. But then when I'm with my friends who are like American, I feel like I am louder.
So in what yeah.
I think like
Yeah, what is that?
I think the thought process is like you don't want to be like a nuisance to anyone else. Like when I go in public, I still do this. Like I try not to sit near people because I feel like I'm bothering them. But then when you think about it from like an American perspective, I feel like Americans don't actually like care.
You don't sit near people because
Like,
you don't want to bother
yeah,
them.
like I don't want to bother people. But then when like I feel like Americans don't think about that stuff. Like if you sit at the table next to them, they're gonna be like, oh, okay.
Right.
But
it doesn't.
I think about that type of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's like you're constantly measuring. It's almost like there's this radar going on, and you're measuring constantly all this like energy around you. And,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Bro, do you have? How's that? Where do you?
I think I kind of do that too, just to be considerate of other people. I definitely do like try to be like aware of how close I'm sitting to people. I also agree with the family thing. I definitely find myself code switching between my family, talking with my family, and talking with friends.
Mm-hmm. Code switching of like being. And do you see it like in your personality? It can like expand out and come down in that way?
I think so. Yeah, I definitely act different with my family than with my friends. Also, I'm speaking a different language
Yeah.
when I'm with my friends and with my family.
Uh-huh. But if you say that to the average American, like a lot of students in this room would be like, oh yeah, I act different when I'm with my family as well. So what do the two of you mean that's not that? It's like, yeah, I'm different when I'm with my friends than when I'm with my family. And I'm like, that's not what you're saying. I know that's not what you're saying.
I guess there's cultural differences
Mm-hmm.
that you can't really explain. It's just inherently different.
So this idea of don't stand out, it's like, does that mean anything to you? How about, Amanda, how about you? Does that?
I mean, like my parents have never been like, don't stand out.
Like they don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one says it. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
I mean, I think they want us to stand out in like in a accomplishment way.
Yeah,
Where it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, you should do more than like the average person. But personality wise, like I think I'm pretty like calm, so I usually don't stand out anyways. But they would never like tell me to like, oh, you're being too loud or you're being too rowdy. My parents just aren't like that.
Yeah, so, but they've now acculturated to the United
Right,
States,
because my
right?
parents are pretty Americanized. So like, even like beforehand, they were pretty quiet, and like, the older they get, like they meet new people, they meet new types of people. Like my mom was so shy, but now she's like super outgoing. So, she thinks I'm more outgoing than her, but like, she just grew more Americanized, so she is more talkative now.
Yeah, so like you said, more shy, right? This is what I mean. So if I go back to this thing, see, the three of you don't even see it. This is the thing about culture is like water for fish. Like fish don't see water, they don't understand water, they don't know they're in water. So culture is like that. And I don't know it until the moment I leave New York, and like I go through TSA at New York, first off, right? And first off, they're yelling at you all the time. You're just being yelled at. Like, take your shoes off. Don't take your shoes off. I was taking my watch off a couple weeks ago, and the guy says, like, did I tell you to take your watch off? I'm like, no, man. Damn, dude. He's like, put your watch back on. I'm like, holy shit, dude, stop yelling at me. Like, my God, who are you people? And I get to Korea, and it's just like, okay. Bowing, and like everything is so like kind of like, oh, welcome. And then you go through TSA in Korea, in Seoul. I walked through 2 days ago, yesterday. I'm walking through, and the person who's checking me over is like saying, oh, excuse me, because it's gonna pass the wand over me. It's like, oh, please don't step over here. Very kind, very calm, really nice. And like, it's just like space. And they're apologizing for being in my space. I'm like, dude, in New York, the TSA, there's 5 of them around yelling at me, and I'm from across the room, and I haven't even done anything. And they're apologizing for like, hey, excuse me, I'm in your space. I'm like, you're not in my space. You're 2 meters away, but that's okay. This is the comportment thing. This is what I mean. It's like a whole country of shy people. And yet it's not. When you meet people, you see it. It's not that. So, okay, so your parents have Americanized, so that's a little bit different. But do you see it with your grandparents, though? Do you see this thing I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, my grandparents only really speak Chinese, so like I've never actually had a conversation with them. So it's funny because like my parents will tell me their personality, but like, and I see them every single week, but I don't know their actual personality.
Because you can't talk to them.
Right. So.
How about in Thais who I meet are very much more like this, like more down here than down here. Yeah. Do you see that or not see that?
Yeah, I see that is. So I would say in American, they have grown up with the thought of like free right, that you can do anything that you want as long as you don't like violate the other people's rights. So it's kind of like make them more express of like, oh, I can do this because I have right. It's like they always say that all the time, that I have right, I can do anything I want. Yeah, but in Thailand or Asian, I don't know if that also occur with other country. It's like a structural of the society that pressure the people that if you stand out, you're just the attention seeker.
If you stand out, you're an attention seeker.
Yeah, and some people that stand out may like are problematic, you know? So we kind of say like, oh, be polite, stay by the rule.
So so there are all these subtle ways in which you kind of keep people in line and keep them from being unique and outside the box.
Especially in Japanese, you know that they are really strict on the rules and law. It's just like their society made them that to be like quiet, respect people, don't make a thing that will be a mess. Like
don't bother anyone's space. Like, for example, hang on, and I'm going to go to you. So I'm riding the Seoul subway. Bro, is this your backpack? All right. Did you go to the dispensary today, it looks like? All right. So here's how everyone's got their backpack on, like this, in the Seoul subway. Why do you think they're wearing it like this? Yeah, so you don't knock. Everyone's got their backpack like this. It's like you don't want to knock anybody. Meanwhile, check this out. My backpack is like this, because I'm not thinking about it, because I didn't at first, like, because I always change it when I get in the subway. My backpack is like this, and I'm like knocking somebody like this, and I'm knocking someone around, and then I'm realizing, oh man, hang on, got to change it around, because you want to be small, right? And do you do this in China too? It's a thing. But it's like you want to be small. The last thing I want to do is knock into somebody. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in their space. I want to be really thoughtful and kind. And it's like, get out of the way. And people, when it's crowded, people are pushing around because you can't not do that. But it's like being really aware. I'm like, damn, man, that's this comportment thing, right? Like, don't just always be cognizant of other people around so you don't make anybody else uncomfortable and you don't harm them in some way. Hang on. Do you have a comment?
Oh, yeah. So I'm Asian, I'm Chinese. So I want to make my own comment on that. Like, in my opinion, why we don't stand out is because we are too scared of being different.
Too scared of being different.
Yes. I remember when I first come to America, I was always the quiet one in the classroom. I was scared of asking questions because I was afraid that I may get judged if I ask a question in English. And my English pronunciation is not perfect. I don't know how to say certain math concepts, stuff like that. So sometimes I'm just too scared, so I choose to tuck things back in and not speak out.
Mm-hmm.
But now as I am staying longer in America, I'm learning to be more confident. And I think that is a good thing. That's the reason why I came here.
Yeah, but listen, so I want to be clear about something here though, right? I'm watching Americans speaking Korean, and they hardly know any Korean, and they're just throwing it out there, and they're wrong, so people would say, oh, well, the reason you're kind of reticent is because you don't know English, and so and I'm like, no, you're saying something else, because I'm watching Americans who don't know Mandarin or don't know English or whatever, and they don't care. It doesn't matter. They're just throwing it out there and being wrong. And
I'm really happy that you think that way, but the truth is, in real life, you will always get judged. I mean,
you're always going to get judged.
At least for me, based on my own experience, I got judged for that.
Yeah.
But I remember I was a volunteer in your class, and the shorts with me volunteering actually got a lot of views on YouTube, and I got people randomly just sending me messages that saying my English is so good, and I admire you so much, and I was like, that was so kind. I was not expecting that. It really boosted my confidence.
Oh, there you are, and look at right now you're talking, man.
Yeah.
Dude, awesome. See, how's her English? It's good, right? Compared to his Mandarin. Were you going to say something? Do you have something? Here,
Yeah, one thing that I kind of want to point out is I don't think our culture is reserved.
Yeah, it's not. That's the culture isn't reserved.
It's more about because our culture is more on respecting other people. So it's not about being shy.
Yeah.
So
No, it's not. I'm glad you're saying that, because it's not like a whole row of shy people. No, you go to Korea or you go to China, it's people aren't shy, but it's this interpersonal space in which there's just a deep respect.
I think before Korea was modernized, we had Confucianism, which is treat others with respect to elders and having those culture. Our country is really small, so in order to fight bigger countries, we had to be unified. So having that religion with treating each other with respect, and now we're modernized and we don't have the religion, the national religion. Yet the Confucianism is still
it's still there.
Yeah. So I think it's not about don't stand out, be reserved. It's more about we respect you as much as we respect you as much
Yeah.
as we want to be respected.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. And so those are just things that what it looks like. But the don't stand out is there. But listen, it's like, this is why what you were saying, I think one of you was saying, maybe it was you, like in a chair in this room, like I sometimes see students put their feet up on the back of the chair of the person in front of them. It's like like if I were, like here, I see people come into this, dude, you have, right there, you have your feet, and hang on, don't move your feet at all. Like, hang on, both of you. All three of you, dudes, do not move your feet. Can you get this on camera? Wesley, can you, keep your feet right there? Right? Wesley, see all these feet on the chair right here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that? You just would never do that. You wouldn't see that in a classroom. It's just not, because someone's going to come in, watch what happens. Someone comes in late, I got to sit in this chair. It's like you would never disrespect somebody like that. Now I got to deal with your dirty shoes on the chair, and I'm like, you wouldn't do that. That is the single most disrespectful thing you could possibly ever do, right? But it's not here, but you're American. You're all Americans, right? So it's not for Americans. We're just like, whatever. Sit down on the chair and put your head back, and as soon as I do that, you're going to move your feet. But that's the thing here, that we're not thinking constantly about the other person. What do they need? What do they want? What's someone going to think when they sit in that chair? It's like, I want to be aware of that. I want to be thoughtful. I want to be careful about it. Yo, that's wild. And you guys are somewhere in between, because you see, so as a little bit different with you, but you would kind of be wanting to put your feet on the back of the chair, but you'd have your parents or grandparents going dude, you wouldn't do that. Yeah. Here, wait, where's the mic? Thanks, bro. Okay, here. So have you, I think I asked this. So what ways have you said it, but what ways have the three of you tried to be more American since you got here? Is that a thought in your mind? When I go to Korea, I try to be more Korean. I'm quiet. I try to not get in other people's spaces. I don't when all sorts of things. I try to get just be aware and thoughtful and respectful, right? What ways do you try to be more American? Have you tried? What have you done?
Well, actually, I'm not kind of be more like American, but at here, I was I can wear whatever I want, just like American.
You can wear whatever you want.
Yeah, like short dress, or the tank top, or bikini.
But in China, you can do that too, right?
I can't do that because my dad.
Oh, your dad.
he doesn't allow me to do that.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Wait, Dad, she doesn't really wear that here anyway, bro. Well, does he speak English, your dad?
No.
Okay, never mind. Forget I just said that. Okay, anything else? What else? What do you have anything that you have done to try to be more Americanized?
To be look more American, I put different makeup on.
I don't know. However, is there anything since coming here, do you look around? To what degree do you look around? I just gave you an example. When I'm in Korea, I'm very conscious of other people. And I'm very conscious of what other people are thinking. I'm doing the Korean thing. I'm thinking about what other people are thinking. I'm thinking about not being in people's spaces. I'm thinking about not just being the American. And so I get a little quieter, a little bit more thoughtful. I bow, I do all sorts of things. And I'm wondering, what have you done? What do you do here?
Oh yeah, I smile a lot. like like I walk here, and then if I make like eye contact with someone who walk past by, I just make smile. But in Korea, I don't really do that because they're gonna. Yes,
You don't do it in Korea
I don't
because,
really do it. I don't really make eye contact with others
yeah?
when I walk.
Because why?
Because no,
Is that a Korean thing?
it's not like Korean thing, but like here, I talk a lot to strangers, like, oh hi, oh I like your shirts, or like, oh I like your dress, oh I like your makeup or nails. But in Korea, I don't really do that.
Yeah, I think that's much more common here. Americans are exceptionally friendly.
Yeah,
And
friendly.
yeah, you're shaking your head. Do you agree with that? Do you see that?
Yeah. You guys are so friendly because when I first time I came to the U.S., everyone is just say my nails like, oh, your nails so beautiful. Where do you do it? Like, I'm so happy with that.
Yeah. And you don't get that in China? Not in the same way?
Maybe just my friend will say your nails so beautiful.
Same. Same with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I will say say how are you today and have a good day. How are you today and have a good day, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. When I was in Eastern Europe, I lived in Prague for a bit. It was right after the fall of the Iron Curtain. And I would pass people everyone I would pass on the street, I would say hi to them and check, you know? And I was always just like I was being the American, you know, like really just like constantly like, yeah, hey, how you doing? And people, no one ever responded to me. And finally, the woman that we were the woman who across the hall from us, we were drinking beer one night, and she said, you gotta stop saying hi to people. Like they think that you're some kind of weird American spy or something. You're a strange American. Like you gotta just stop. Just walk past people and resist making eye contact with them and saying hi to them. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm an American. She said, you have to do that. Just walk by. Don't make contact. Just walk by. It's like we've had, 4 decades of Soviet rule here, and you just don't communicate with people on the street. What have you done? Have you done anything to be more?
First thing came to my mind is that I eat a lot of American food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very American because I don't think they are delicious, but in order to live in America, I have to eat them.
You have to do it. You have to be part of it.
I have to eat American food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I learned to reject people because, sometimes when I try to talk to my classmates, if like my answer is too strange, they would kind of like say it very outspokenly, and they won't like do some circles around that thing, and they will say, I don't understand your question, you need to explain that, or I don't know. It's very straightforward. But like in China, I don't do that, and I don't like say I don't know the answer. I have to like say something because, it prevents me like being stupid in that way. So I think like rejecting is very useful skill to be what you want to do.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm thinking like also there are a lot of cultures where you never get a direct answer about things. Is that true in China? Do you get direct answers from people, or do you go around? Like you never get a no. You go around, right? You never get a no. This is my experience actually. Now I'm realizing it with Chinese. Like you never say no to anybody. You just go around. So like I've had many jobs or things that I've done with Chinese like in China, like different projects or something, and they don't go anywhere because they won't say no to me. But I keep like pushing, I keep opening up things, but they refuse to say no, but they really want to say no, but they don't. And so then we just are stuck in this limbo. So there's the rejection thing, right? So you're learning to say no. Like, okay, so that makes sense. All right. So, I have a question for you all, right? So during COVID, you guys, hang on, hold tight here 1 second, right? You guys all wore masks during COVID, right? What's the primary reason of wearing a mask? Like, why did you wear a mask?
The law.
The law.
Yeah.
The secondly,
Law.
the law is saying you got to wear a mask. Also,
I just didn't want to spread the germs.
you don't want to spread the germs, right? Like you guys, like this is a thing. Like you don't, here, and so you all, right, as the Americans that you are, why'd you wear a mask during COVID? Because you don't want to, yeah, what's the reason you wore a mask in COVID? The primary reason?
I guess out of respect for other people and also personal protection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Respect for other people and personal protection. Uh-huh. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say that. And also, like, just like I wouldn't want to be like the only person not wearing a mask either.
Yeah, because?
Because I feel like, well, first off, I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to get other people sick, but then also I don't want to, like, be judged for not wearing a mask.
Be judged for not wearing a
Yeah.
mask. But Americans, like, who don't have how about you? Do you have that? Can you weigh in on that?
I mean, like, it's definitely a respect thing, just especially if people have health problems. But I think the main, like, at least in high school, like, they told us we had to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And, like sometimes I would put mine down, sometimes because it was really annoying. But the main reason was because they told us we had to.
So here, yeah, and they have to keep telling you over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So here, this is the thing. So, like, in the United States, in the West, in this way, especially in the U.S., where we have this really freedom-based culture, it's like people, we want to decide themselves whether they wear a mask or not. But the primary thing is protecting ourselves. Like, if you ask people about wearing a mask, for average Americans, it's like, I'm protecting me. But if you ask, like in Korea or in China, like in East Asian cultures, it's like there's this community thing. I don't know how it is in Thailand, but I would imagine the same thing. Like you're really working, and you said it, like protecting myself, but protecting others. And like the three of you would be kind of stuck in between these two places. But like, so I was the first time I was in Korea, everybody was still masking. And like, did you say you don't want to be the only one, right? There was one day, there were many days, like outside, everybody was wearing masks outside. And I remember one day I was at the palace, and the wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour. There was no virus in the air whatsoever. So, and if there was, it was all the way in Manchuria at that point in time. And everyone had a mask on. And I kept saying to people, you don't need a mask, there's no virus here. But nobody wanted to take the mask off. Like no one wanted to be that person. And I thought, in the United States, bro, it wouldn't matter. You just take the mask off because it's like a badge of honor to not wear a mask. And there you just would never take the mask off. You'd never do. How would you do that? So do you have like that part of you that sees that? Do you have any,
I do kind of see that. I also see like the opposite effect in America where like most people don't wear masks and the people that do are kind of like standing out.
The people that do are standing out. Yeah. Which is bizarre. And so here, do you remember like your experience in Korea? Like when Matt, it's like you just wear it.
Yeah, I just wore a mask.
You just wear it. Did you question it?
Not really.
So they said you got to wear a mask, so you just wear a mask.
Yes, because I don't want to spread the germs, and I didn't want to get the COVID,
Yeah.
like the either way.
And did all your friends the same thing? Like people just wore masks?
Like in the beginning, I was also like, oh, I don't want to wear a mask. That's like, why would I? But as the time passed, I just like got. I just knew it that I had to wear a mask.
You just wear it.
Yes.
Like there's no objection. Yeah, this in here, but in the U.S., do you remember like how many people just would not mask and like it didn't matter? You just fight it. But imagine being in a place where like in a room like this, you just would come in and you mask. Like nobody didn't have a mask on. Like here, I would have every day in class, I'd have to be reminding people like, dude, you got to put a mask on. Yo, dude, in the back, your mask, let's go. And if I didn't say anything, and we had TAs at the top of the room, and they'd be telling people, like handing masks out and telling people you had to wear a mask. And if I didn't do that, half the room would have the masks off. But never once was I anywhere in Korea where I ever saw anybody without a mask not pulled up on their face, ever. And so in China, you guys had to do that because it was like law. But you would do it anyway, because it's like part of the thing. Hey, I have another question, another thing. So, when the other day I was in a coffee shop, this is pretty regularly, and people come into the coffee shop. Leah, you and we talked about this before, but like you go in a coffee shop, do you ever think you're fun? Like people would go over to the spot where they want to sit, and they take their phone, and they put it on the table, and then they go and they get their coffee, or they go somewhere else, or they go wherever, and their phone's just sitting on the table, and it could be there like 15 or 20 minutes. And that's holding their spot. And like you don't even question that. And no one's going to touch the phone. Like nobody would ever walk in and touch their phone. And I'm watching this. I'm in this coffee shop, and there are these laptops and phones and all sorts of things that are sitting around on the tables, and there's nobody there. And I had coffee. At one point, I'm having coffee with this person, and 45 minutes go by, and the phone is sitting on the table the entire time. No one ever showed up for it. And I know they were holding the table. Like, they were just waiting until they came back. And, like, it didn't matter. And the thing that's interesting is that nobody would touch the phone. It's not their property. So you wouldn't, like, I just touched your phone. Do you guys, what do you think about that as Americans?
I mean, in State College, I feel like that happens here too.
It does happen?
Yeah.
Like,
People would like leave their laptop.
leave their
like,
laptops
like,
around?
on a desk and leave for coffee.
Yeah,
and come back.
in-state college
Yeah.
here, like on campus and stuff. Yeah. Think about New York City.
Yeah, like I wouldn't do that in like a big city or anything. Like I traveled to Japan with my family before, and I saw that all the time. Like people just leave their stuff around and no one takes it. And I think it goes back to that like communal respect thing. Like it's just like by word, like no one's gonna touch it because it's not theirs.
Uh-huh.
And like my mom wasn't worried about like anything of ours getting stolen or anything. But if I was like in the US, my mom would tell us to like watch our stuff obviously, or like
Mhm.
stand near your luggage so no one takes it. Like I think that is the cultural difference.
So do you right, like, so in your mind, you have to kind of constantly be balancing these two things out.
Yeah, I would
In a
say
way.
so.
Uh-huh. Do you have that experience at all? You're in it.
Yeah.
You're in the US in that way.
Yeah, I think like I was always told to like watch my stuff and yeah, like locker in a gym. It was kind of weird coming here and not having to do that, like at State College
Yeah.
compared to Philly. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's not the only place, right? You can go to in Saudi. You guys don't have that. What's that? What's that? Yeah, that's what I mean. In Saudi, it's the same thing. Like, you would leave your cars open, you leave your stuff around, no one's going to touch it. In Qatar, no, you wouldn't come close. Like, my first experience of that was when I was in Qatar, the very first time, and I just realized, damn, you just leave anything anywhere, and no one's going to touch it. And think about how that kind of, but it's also a communitarian society. So, how can you, it's in China, same thing, right? You don't have, but is that because people are not going to touch other people's stuff, or because you'll get in trouble if you touch people's stuff?
Actually, I don't think that's, if you leave your phone in a coffee shop, it's safe there, because I know.
You don't think it's safe?
I don't think it's safe, because my phone had been stolen before, so yeah, that's my personal
Oh,
experience.
dude, you got to go to Korea or Saudi Arabia. Go to Saudi. What's that? You have a question? All right. Wait, do you have a comment on this, by the way? You were shaking your head when I was telling the story. E.G.
That's the funny story. And then like we want the spot, not others' phone. And then we go to cafe to get coffee and sit in the comfort, like comfy spot, not to steal others' phone. That's why we left our phone on the like table and then go get coffee. And the other thing is like cameras are everywhere. So we know that we will get caught. That's
Well, cameras
why.
are everywhere too, increasingly in the United States. But yeah, you also have that. But that's not the driving force, because this didn't, hang on one second. Because this didn't start with cameras, right? This is like a long-standing thing. Bro, what's your question?
I want to ask a question about, hypothetically, if someone leave their car open, he could want to go out shopping or whatever he does, I don't care. What's the probability of this car being stolen?
What's the, if you leave a car open in Seoul or in Beijing, what's the possibility of it getting stolen? In Philly, it's 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Is it going to get stolen in Seoul? Yeah, probably not, dude. All right, listen. Hey, wait, hang on. Can we have applause for the...